Hello and welcome to NTD News Today. Kevin Hogan here. Let's take a look at our top stories. No deal yet on President Biden's domestic spending agenda. How does he plan to pay for it now, and how much longer do progressives think it'll take? President Biden arrives at the Vatican for a meeting with the Pope. Catholics in Washington, D.C. are hopeful over Biden's visit with him, and we bring you some background on the long tradition of U.S. presidents meeting with the leader of the Catholic Church. Top Democrats trying to hurt the chances of the Republican candidate in the race for Virginia governor by tying him to President Trump. The two candidates are deadlocked in a race that could be a bellwether for the midterms next year. And Project Veritas recorded a video of the New Jersey governor's senior advisor saying the governor will mandate the vaccine after he's reelected. But the clip notes he won't do it during election season. Around 300 passengers were evacuated from a terminal at the Los Angeles International Airport. The airport thought someone had a gun, but no weapon was found and no shots were fired. 2 people were detained, 2 others were hurt during the evacuation onto the airfield. Flights were grounded temporarily. A passenger told ABC7 that the pilot said the incident began after someone yelled "gun." Someone who says she was in the terminal's food court at the time of the incident posted her reaction on Twitter. She wrote that she and her friend were scared for their lives and that the airport handled the incident poorly. She also wrote she couldn't imagine what would happen if there really was a shooting. The airport has since fully reopened. And in Mississippi, rocket plant employees at a NASA test site are protesting against the COVID vaccination mandate. They're the latest federal employees to demonstrate against the mandate.
If you want to be vaccinated, go get vaccinated. It's my right as a Mississippian to say if I want to get vaccinated or I don't want it.
Your husband talked about, is he prepared to lose his job over this?
He is. I mean, that's something that unfortunately we've really had to discuss. I mean, we don't know what the future holds. We don't know if he'll be let go.
There are many of us that for different reasons do not want to be vaccinated. We're uncomfortable with it, whether it's for a religious reason, a medical reason. Some of us have had COVID and we have natural immunity. And a lot of us, it just goes against our sincerely held beliefs, not to mention it violates our constitutional rights.
Trumbach says employees are allowed to submit a request for a religious or medical exemption, but they have not been told whether their requests will be approved. The December 8th deadline is closing in. Demonstrators gathered along a rural highway near Stennis Space Center, waving American flags and hoisting signs condemning the requirements. Off-site workers are also protesting having to show proof of vaccination or a negative virus test to enter a work site. And several times throughout the 3-hour demonstration, this group gathered to pray. Earlier in the month, employees at Ingalls Shipbuilding also rallied against the mandate. President Biden has arrived at the Vatican for a meeting with Pope Francis today. It comes as Biden faces criticism from Catholic bishops in the U.S. over his stance on abortion, though Biden and the Catholic leader are set to discuss climate change and injustice. The Pope's decision to meet with Biden signals that he supports him, though Catholics in America have criticized Biden because he hasn't made abortion illegal. A Catholic missionary shares her views.
For me, issues that are really important are right to life for everyone and also issues of economic justice, which are things that are very important to the Pope and, yeah, ideally to the President as well. I would really like to see those talked about, like how we can better the lives of everyone in our country and make life something, that is more fair and more equal for everyone.
In June, a conference of U.S. bishops debated whether the Catholic Church should refuse communion to Catholic politicians for being pro-abortion. That would, of course, include Biden. A philosophy student at a Catholic university in Washington weighs in.
Personally, I'd be happy if Pope Francis brought up the issue of abortion. That's something that I care about a lot, and I think that could be talked about more, especially considering the fact that Biden is Catholic, but doesn't really hold the Catholic position on abortion. So I think that would be something I would like to see addressed.
A conference of bishops drafted a statement on who can receive communion and will take up the issue for a second time in November. Looking back in time, President John F. Kennedy met with Pope Paul VI at the Vatican. Kennedy was the first Roman Catholic president of the U.S. He met Pope Paul just a few days after his coronation. Former President Jimmy Carter was the first to host a pope at the White House. His visit with Pope John Paul II had 10,000 guests. And former President Ronald Reagan established formal U.S. diplomatic relations with the Vatican in 1984. In 1987, Pope John Paul II greeted Reagan and his wife in the U.S.
I come as a pilgrim in the cause of justice and peace and human solidarity.
And he met Pope John Paul II in Fairbanks, Alaska. That was when they were crossing paths on each of their trips to and from Asia. President Biden is now in Italy as his domestic agenda hangs in the balance back home in the United States. Democrat lawmakers are trying to figure out how to move forward to pass his new framework. NTD's Jessica Beatty reports.
President Biden landing in Rome without landing a deal on his domestic spending agenda.
There are too many members for the bill to pass, too many no votes for the bill to pass today.
Progressives resisting, forcing Democratic leaders to again push back a vote on the bipartisan infrastructure bill that the Senate already passed.
I have held steady with what we've talked about as progressives, saying that we need both bills to ride together, and we don't have that right now.
Biden visited lawmakers Thursday morning, pleading for an agreement and vote on the infrastructure deal after he unveiled a draft of a scaled-back $1.85 trillion social spending and climate package.
No one got everything they wanted, including me. But that's what compromise is.
Progressives saying it won't take much longer before a deal comes together.
We understand that it's 90% written. That 10% should just hopefully be very quick to put together based on the framework that the president gave us.
As for how to help pay for Biden's spending plan, there's a long list of new revenue schemes, including a 15% minimum corporate tax, a new stock buyback tax, and a new surtax on the income of multimillionaires and billionaires. Biden's team projects the plan could raise nearly $2 trillion over the next decade. But a new analysis using the Penn-Wharton budget model estimates it would raise $1.5 trillion. That's $500 billion less than the White House predicted. It's partly due to the president abandoning plans to have banks report all transactions over $600. Meanwhile, Senate Republican leader Mitch McConnell says Biden's social spending plan will make Americans more dependent on the government instead of working hard themselves.
They would shred a decades-old consensus about the importance of work and massively expand cash grants to families without any employment requirements.
Both the House and Senate have recessed until Monday. Jessica Beatty, NTD News.
There's a new plan to get California's ports back in good working order amid supply chain overloads in Los Angeles and Long Beach. The California governor and the U.S. Transportation Secretary announced $5 billion in federal infrastructure loans. They say they expect it will improve the port's ability to move goods and improve the environment at the same time. But the money won't help clear the current supply chain blockages. The funds are expected to modernize the ports to help ward off future disasters. And some officials say the current plan to stop the bottleneck at the two California ports won't work. The plan involves issuing fines for containers that sit too long at the ports. Attendees of a National Shippers Advisory Council meeting also oppose the measure. They say the fines will simply shift the bottlenecks and make shipping even more expensive. Virginians will elect a new governor next Tuesday. The two candidates, Democrat Terry McAuliffe and Republican Glenn Youngkin, are deadlocked. An apparent effort to hurt Youngkin's chances, Democrats linking him to President Trump.
Top Democrats, including President Biden, went on the campaign trail for Virginia gubernatorial candidate Terry McAuliffe, and they seem to have a common strategy, linking McAuliffe's Republican opponent Glenn Youngkin to former President Trump.
I ran against Donald Trump. And Terry is running against an acolyte of Donald Trump. Terry's opponent doesn't like to talk about how very much now, but to win the Republican nomination, he embraced Donald Trump.
In the speech, Biden said Trump's name 24 times. McAuliffe himself and the chairman of the Democratic National Committee also lashed out at Youngkin over his ties to Trump.
Glenn Youngkin is not a reasonable Republican. I call him Donald Trump in khakis. Do we want a lapdog to Donald Trump to be our governor here in the Commonwealth?
Youngkin on Thursday denied that Trump would come to Virginia to campaign for him.
He's not coming. And in fact, we're campaigning as Virginians in Virginia with Virginians. And we've got another 4 days left on our bus tour. And then
a hot topic in the gubernatorial debates has been parent protests against progressive school curricula. The two candidates disagree on whether parents should decide what their kids learn.
To veto bills, veto books, Glenn, not to be knowledgeable about it, also take them off the shelves. And I'm not going to let parents come into schools and actually take books out and make their own decision.
You vetoed it.
So, yeah, I stopped the bill that I don't think parents should be telling schools what they should teach. Good.
On the other hand, Youngkin says he believes parents should be in charge of their kids' education. The result of the race may not be out by election night. Mail-in ballots will be accepted until noon on November 5th, as long as they're postmarked by Election Day.
The New Jersey gubernatorial election is just days away, and Governor Phil Murphy is accused of hiding a political agenda. An undercover video by Project Veritas appears to show that Murphy plans to mandate the COVID-19 vaccine if reelected, but not before the election.
New Jersey Republicans are calling on Governor Phil Murphy to be more transparent. That's after undercover journalism group Project Veritas released this video. Seen in the video is Wendy Martinez, a senior advisor to the governor.
La vaccine mandates. Como California, que está el mandato que todo el mundo tiene que tener la vacuna.
Lo va a hacer, pero no podía hacerlo antes de la elección.
Exacto.
Porque
si no se tira todo
lo
el mundo.
independent y lo undecided.
The independent deciders would not vote for him if he did the mandate.
Because they're into all that my rights, my
The vaccine mandates.
He will. But right now it's about him winning. It'll be fine.
A spokeswoman for the campaign of Murphy's Republican challenger says if true, this is the ultimate hypocrisy and an appalling lack of transparency.
If he talks about mandates for vaccines now, he won't get
Project
elected.
Veritas also recorded a comment from Matthew Ukillo, a manager for Forward NJ, a project backed by the New Jersey Democratic State Committee.
I think so. I think the problem is right now because it's election season, he's not going to have people say, like, we're going to have a mandate now. Because, that's, for some people, it's going to piss them off. I think once we have a win, it's like, all right, guns blazing, like, who cares? I mean, let's do the mandates, let's do this, the X, Y.
Murphy's office said in a statement that the video does not depict any member of the administration or anyone involved in public health policy, and the administration has never had plans, nor is it making plans, for a blanket COVID-19 vaccine mandate.
Tired of living in big cities? Maybe it's time for a change. Some small American cities are offering cash to people who are willing to move into town. See if you find any of these an attractive destination.
Dozens of small towns in the U.S. are now paying people to move there. That's to ease their population loss and revitalize the local economy. A Kansan town called Topeka, for example, will give up to $15,000 cash if you move there. Local authorities say it's worth it for them. That's because the economic benefit of a person moving in will be far greater. For Topeka, half of the money they pay newcomers comes from local employers signing bonuses, and the city pays the other half. And the program has been successful, especially since the pandemic started and more people are working remotely. Topeka has brought in about 200 people on the program since 2019. Other than Topeka, cities across the country from Mississippi to Iowa, Arkansas, and Alabama are also offering dollars to entice people. In most of these towns, the cost of living is lower than the U.S. average, in some cases 20% lower. Such a program has been especially successful in the state of Maine. In 2019, over 10,000 people moved there. Other than providing cash, Maine also partially reimburses student loans for students who move there. That's by using the state's tax credits. Maine reimbursed $30 million in student loans in 2019.
An Alabama woman was arrested on a charge of endangering a child. That's after her 1-year-old daughter allegedly overdosed on drugs and had to be revived by first responders. The Jefferson County Sheriff's Department said it got a call from a woman who was screaming that her child had overdosed apparently from the powerful opioid painkiller fentanyl. Video from a police body camera showed an officer entering a house on Monday and finding a child unconscious on the floor as others were gathered inside. An officer gave the child the drug Narcan. It's a nasal spray, and it's used to revive people suffering from opioid overdoses. The child began breathing again and was taken by ambulance to Children's of Alabama, where the department said she was in stable condition. Jeanette Lachey Bell, 31, was arrested after telling officers the child had gotten into her drug paraphernalia and put something in her mouth. Bell was charged with chemical endangerment of a child. She was jailed with bonds set at $15,000. Court records were not available to show whether Bell had a lawyer who could speak on her behalf. Oklahoma has executed a man. In 1998, he stabbed a prison cafeteria worker to death, in the state's first lethal injection following a 6-year moratorium. 60-year-old John Marion Grant is the first inmate to be executed since a series of flawed executions in 2014 and 2015. Grant was serving a 130-year prison sentence for several armed robberies when witnesses say he dragged a prison cafeteria worker, Gabe Carter, into a mop closet and stabbed her 16 times with a homemade shank. Oklahoma moved forward with Grant's lethal injection after the U.S. Supreme Court lifted stays of execution that were put in place on Wednesday for Grant and another death row inmate by an appeals court. Following the shooting accident on the set of Rust, the award-winning producer of The King's Speech spoke about the potential liability for the film's producers, director, and armorer. NTD's Andrew Thomas reports.
Gareth Ellis Unwin was explaining the role of a producer during a film or TV production, a week after a shooting accident on the set of Rust left a cinematographer dead and a director injured.
So the producer on a film production or a drama production typically is the employer of record. So everyone that's contracted to that show, the boss, as it were, would be the producer and the producer's production company. So they would be the person that's making those hiring decisions. And with that comes the duty of care over the health and safety of those people that are under contract to you.
Alec Baldwin fired the prop gun during filming. He likely won't be held criminally or civilly liable for the tragedy as an actor. But Baldwin, the producer, might be, along with several others in leadership positions for the Western.
And I think, the producer is where the buck stops, although there are a number of other people that are in the production at varying levels of seniority and responsibility. Ultimately, the producer would be the last person that something like this would lead back to.
In addition to Baldwin, several other producers, assistant director Dave Halls, and armorer Hannah Gutierrez could all face some kind of liability. Ellis Unwin says that when it comes to guns, the armorer is the only person who should be touching the weapon on set. He was surprised to hear that other people handled the gun prior to it being used.
I've not been on a set where anyone else has been permitted to touch weaponry. I've always employed an armourer. The armourer is the last person that touches it before it's handed to cast. Typically, the armourer would show that the weapon is clear to use.
Ellis Unwin says he's not sure the incident will have a long-term effect on how the industry operates, but he does say that such accidents should cause filmmakers to reflect on safety. Andrew Thomas, NTD News.
The iconic 1960s television series The Munsters is at the center of a new Halloween-inspired auction, Monsters and Friends. The spooky event is currently taking place at Beverly Hills Heritage Auctions.
Props, merchandise, and costumes from the comedy show about an outcast family of monsters are all up for auction.
I mean, it struck a chord with people. It's got a huge cult following. I mean, you have the gothic horror aspect to it and then just the wacky 60s humor as well. I mean, they're the misfit family.
But it's not just the Munsters. Other horror and sci-fi props are also available, such as Freddy Krueger's mask in the original Nightmare on Elm Street and Ewan McGregor's lightsaber from Star Wars Episode 1, Attack of the Clones. Two items expected to fetch the highest bids are costumes and a ray gun from the original Star Trek pilot, and an original script from the 1931 Frankenstein movie.
But we also have, and perhaps you'll get an image of it later, the original script from 1931, Frankenstein. I mean, that is, in the 30 years I've been doing this, I've never seen one.
Bidders can also get their hands on items like Wilson, the volleyball companion of Tom Hanks in Castaway, a Wizard of Oz script, and the clapperboard from Jaws. Costumes from Titanic, worn by Leonardo DiCaprio and Kate Winslet, are also up for bidding.
I think Leo's is probably going to sell for, you know, 80,000 plus. I think Kate's is probably going to go maybe for a couple of $100,000 or more.
Bids are currently being accepted at the auction, which will close on November 4th, 5th, and 7th, depending on the lots. Andrew Thomas, NTD News.
Halloween is this weekend, but there could be more tricks than treats. California issued an alert warning parents to watch out for cannabis-infused edibles packaged as candy or snacks targeting children. NTD's Cynthia Kai reports.
California's Attorney General issued a consumer alert warning Californians of cannabis-infused edibles. The edibles are being packaged and sold as copycat versions of popular food and candy products, mimicking major brands including Oreos, Doritos, Cheetos, and more.
They are unregulated and untested cannabis products sold by unlicensed manufacturers and marketed to underage Californians.
Bonta said parents should look for images of a cannabis leaf or language such as medicated, THC, CBD, and keep out of reach of children and animals. While these cannabis-laced edibles are illegal, California legalized the recreational use of cannabis in 2016 under Proposition 64.
There are 3 things we can all do to keep our kids, family, and community safe. 1. Know how to identify look-alike products. 2. Know the health risks. And 3. Report illegal products.
The warning comes amid an increase in calls to poison control centers reporting children drug consumptions. According to the press release, California saw 1,173 calls to the Poison Control Center for services related to children aged 0 through 19 ingesting cannabis products. Calls nearly tripled since legalization of marijuana. Earlier this month, attorney generals in New York, Connecticut, Arkansas, and Ohio also asked parents to check their children's treats and to be on guard for cannabis-laced edibles. Cynthia Kai, NTD News, California.
Still to come, the U.S.'s lead diplomat in Taiwan says the U.S. is fulfilling its commitment to help Taiwan defend itself. Earlier, Taiwan's president revealed the presence of U.S. troops. A Japanese activist is using fashion to motivate Japan's youth to vote. With the country's next election just days away on October 31st, will the campaign work? More soon here on NTD News.
Secure, the true solution for your digital privacy and security. Secure is a private and secure messaging and email solution hosted in Switzerland, using military-grade encryption and Swiss privacy laws, giving you true privacy. Secure is 100% private and does not collect or sell any of your personal data. Secure's Helix technology connects you securely to our Swiss servers without the need of a VPN, guaranteeing privacy and security for all your communications. Secure Messenger doesn't require your phone number or any personal data that hackers target. Chat by Invites allows you to chat privately and securely with anyone outside of your secure network without the need for others to download Secure. Secure Send offers you a private and secure way to email anyone outside of Secure. You won't find this level of privacy or security on any other email or instant messaging application. Visit secure.com. Regain and protect your privacy today.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, inventor of MyPillow. Thanks to your support, you've helped make MyPillow become one of the fastest growing companies in America. Over the last 12 years, you've helped MyPillow create thousands of jobs right here in the USA.
When I got MyPillow, I'm asleep almost immediately. I stay asleep at night and I wake up more well-rested in the morning.
That's why I invented MyPillow. My patented fill adjusts to your exact individual needs and helps keep your neck supported and aligned. I'm interrupting this commercial right now. Retailers have canceled MyPillow And to thank you for your support, I'm going to pass the savings directly on to you. Go to MyPillow.com right now to get deep discounts on all MyPillow products. For example, you can get my premium MyPillows regularly $69.98, now just $29.98, the lowest price ever.
For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world, visit MyPillow.com.
Merriam-Webster has added over 450 new words and phrases to its dictionary this month, and among them are plenty of pandemic-related entries. They include breakthrough, as in breakthrough cases or infections, super spreader, as in super spreader events, long COVID, and vaccine passport. For online culture and communication, there's the shorthand TBH for to be honest, FTW, meaning for the win, deplatform, and Amorite, slang for am I right? Other newcomers include dad bod, air fryer, horchata, and doorbell camera. And if you're unsure of what any of these words or phrases mean, you're now free to look them up. Art is something we most often expect to find on the walls of an art gallery, yet many in the fields of health and wellness know of art's powerful ability to help us deal with the many challenges of life, including illness, addiction, and finding happiness. NTD's Kay Rubicek has the story.
It's not cast iron, is it?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I only deal with the cast iron.
I started it was all kind of purely selfish.
It's like fire shut up in your bones. You can't not do it.
Functional works of art.
That's what I like to say.
I create things that are beautiful.
I thought, I can do that.
It can be a call to action.
It increases your confidence. It says what your words can't say.
Do you feel like a magician sometimes?
Yes, yes, and I'm afraid to tell anybody that.
When people see beautiful things, endorphins start to happen, and there's this emotion that comes about. All that is sparked because art did it.
We sing before we speak. We dance before we walk.
You want to keep living, so you got to get creative.
That's what makes it the challenge.
It kind of, when I hurt my back and had to retire, it was almost like my life was over. I had to have 2 back surgeries. I had to stop. My doctor said it stopped working or not walk anymore. I became dependent on opiates, and then the depression sits in. You know, I'm gonna stop these drugs and see if I'm hurting, see if I need them, and I didn't. So you get it like this, and then you...
And I'll make it like I'm about to show you. The beautiful door design. See the simple design. I call this the little peekaboo glass over here, so you can check it in the morning. You got an eagle here, there's bears.
So we use the arts in many ways to support their resilience and their well-being. You know, wonder, why are we creating and dedicating a program like this? Some people may see a trained professional musician playing music in a public lobby or atrium or of a hospital and call that music therapy. But that's not music therapy. Just as, you know, someone sitting and drawing a picture, it's art, but it's not art therapy. Most art and music therapy, or art and music therapy I should say, is rooted in the mental health profession.
And give them voice. I think, yes, it's a good thing. And one of the hard parts was the misperception of what music therapy was. Oh, you're going to sing me a happy song? You know, oh, what a beautiful... When I've just been diagnosed with an incurable disease, what can music do for that? Now, those were times when I wondered myself, how is this going to make a difference? But the truth is, we are fearfully and wonderfully made.
Tune in to Life and Times every week on NTD Television.
Voter apathy among the younger generation is now spreading in Japan. As the country's new election draws near, one activist has launched a special program to encourage youth voting, combining politics with fashion design. Let's take a look.
To inspire more young people to vote, a Japanese activist has started a special campaign. She's replacing politics with fashion. As head of the No Youth, No Japan activist group, she now designs T-shirts and sweaters with clothing store spins. Themes of the apparel include life, peace, equality, and, of course, voting.
People will see it and know about it and come into contact with No Youth, No Japan, where people around will know this person is someone who is interested, and that's important.
Nojo hopes young people who wear the shirts can post pictures on social media with the hashtag #WeNeedToGoVote. But Nojo herself is not running for office. Instead, she's fighting a different battle against the apathy that keeps young voters away from the polls. Her campaign will be particularly challenging as Japan's October 31st election is only days away, while young Japanese people on the streets of Tokyo either don't plan to vote or are unsure if they'll visit the polls.
The biggest reason to not go vote is that I can't feel the election directly affects my life.
At the same time, 14 Japanese celebrities joined the call for youth voting in a new viral YouTube video. Since its upload in mid-October, the unscripted video, known as The Voice Project, has received over 600,000 views, virtually leading a new movement. In Japan, it's culturally rare for celebrities to speak about politics, but the film's director hopes the video will become a catalyst for young people to engage in politics.
We began this video this time because we wanted to increase voter turnout. But this may take 10 or 20 years. But it's fine as long as little by little, we could become a society where everyone's political interests increase and everyone becomes involved in politics.
Japan will hold its first lower house election in 4 years, later this month. But voter turnout could be the lowest in its post-war history. In the previous 2 elections in 2019 and 2017, only a third of voters in their 20s cast ballots.
Washington's top diplomat in Taipei says the U.S. is committed to bolstering Taiwan's ability to defend itself. Sandra Oudkirk, who heads the de facto U.S. Embassy in Taiwan, made the comment today in the first news briefing since she took up post in July.
The United States has a commitment to help Taiwan provide for its self-defense. And that's part of the Taiwan Relations Act. It's a commitment we take very seriously. Our commitment to Taiwan is rock solid and contributes to the maintenance of peace and stability across the Taiwan Strait and within the region.
Sandra Oudkirk described U.S. relations with Taiwan as rock solid. Her remarks came after Taiwan President Tsai Ing-wen told CNN that a small team of U.S. soldiers are stationed on the democratically ruled island to provide support and training to local troops. When asked for more details on the presence of U.S. forces, Oudkirk declined to comment on specific operations or training. Another Chinese company, PAX, is under suspicion. It deals with transactions that may occur when you pay with your bank card. The U.S. company WorldPay is removing the Chinese devices. NTD's Tiffany Meyer has more on the story.
Chinese card reader devices are sounding the alarm. Due to security concerns, U.S. online payment company WorldPay began to replace the devices made by Chinese company PAX. That's according to a Thursday report by Bloomberg. PAX headquarters is in China's southeastern city of Shenzhen. Bloomberg says WorldPay is transferring the business to 2 U.S. competitors. PAX devices were found to have connected to websites that are not listed in documents. And WorldPay hasn't gotten satisfactory answers from PAX on the issue. WorldPay says less than 5% of its clients are currently using PAX devices. The decision came after U.S. federal agents raided PAX's Florida warehouse. According to local media from Tuesday, the Federal Bureau of Investigation and the Department of Homeland Security carried out the mission with the court's authorization. PAX shares plunged 43% in Hong Kong the next day. Hong Kong is widening its security supervision for those Beijing has taken issue with. According to terms published on the Hong Kong Monetary Authority's website, banks in Hong Kong will be obliged to report disclosures on clients who breach the city's national security law. The strict law was imposed on the financial hub by Chinese authorities last year. It makes anything Beijing regards as subversion, secession, terrorism, or colluding with foreign forces punishable by up to life in prison. Under that rule, and just 3 months after the law was imposed, Hong Kong's Banking Association soon added 5 clauses. One of them regarding anti-money laundering and another counter-financing terrorism.
Those issues are what banks are required to report on under the security law, and it's those clauses now getting an upgrade. As of last week, transactions suspected to be linked to the national security law are now treated the same as money laundering or terrorism cases.
Coming up, a new self-driving watercraft the size of a small car in Amsterdam will be used for trash collection, and future uses could include passenger transportation. Stay tuned to find out more.
The worst genocide in human history also destroyed the lives of thousands of Jewish survivors still suffering today.
God calls on people who believe in Him to act on His word. Comfort ye, comfort my people.
Especially during this holiday season of Hanukkah.
When I come here and I sit with Lily, I realize what she needs right now is food.
These elderly Jews are weak and they're sick. They're living on $2 a day. This now is how God's children are living. Take this time to send a survival food box to these forgotten Jews.
The International Fellowship of Christians and Jews urgently need your gift of $25 now to help provide one survival food box with all of the essentials they critically need for their diet for 1 month. Your special holiday gift will provide everything they need to celebrate the miracle of Hanukkah.
This is the first time in over 70 years that she has anything to do with faith.
The communists came and wiped it out. And now we're coming to her and we're saying, it's okay to have faith. It's okay to light the Hanukkah candles.
For just $25, you can help supply the essential foods they desperately need for 1 month.
For over 35 years, this trusted ministry has given Christians like me a way to tangibly bless Jewish people who are in need throughout the world.
God tells us to take care of them, to feed the hungry. And I pray Holocaust survivors will be given the basic needs that they so desperately pray for to survive.
Soon, visitors to Amsterdam may spot a self-driving watercraft the size of a small car cruising silently through its ancient canals. NTD's Andrew Thomas has the details.
This is the electric-powered rowboat. It's a catchier name than autonomous floating vehicle, part of a project to transform use of the city's waterways for the better.
So we have a lot of road traffic and congestion, e-commerce logistics that is cluttering the small streets in the inner city. While at the same time we have a lot of open water available in the canals that is not being used anymore for transport, only for tourists.
One of the first test applications of the craft will be for trash collection. Dump trucks on the city's narrow streets are a safety hazard and cause traffic congestion. Instead, rowboats stationed at the waterside will act as floating trash containers.
And we only need about 140 different containers placed near the quay walls, and then several smart rowboats picking up these container boats and bring them to the waste collection company in the port of Amsterdam.
The rowboat is not allowed to enter the city's normal water traffic with passengers yet, but longer term, the medium-sized and slightly boxy frame of the 2,600-pound craft can be used for passenger, trash, and transport models.
With the software that we developed, you can plan your route. So if you want to go from A to B, it automatically calculates the most efficient route to sail. Then when it's sailing, it senses and maps the environment.
Rowboat was developed so that different units can be linked together. Linking rowboats will be able to create more structures, like barges or temporary bridges. Andrew Thomas, NTD News.
It's a sweet dream come true. In Paris, an annual chocolate show brings together chocolatiers, pastry chefs, cocoa experts, and thousands of hungry visitors. NTD's David Vives has the delicious news.
Chocolate squares, chocolate fountains, chocolate animals, even a chocolate Napoleon. There might be enough chocolate here to feed Paris for days.
This edition of the Salon du Chocolat trade show is the first that is being held since the pandemic hit. Thousands of visitors are expected to come here and peruse the stands of the 280 exhibitors.
The fair features chefs' recipes, live performances, cooking workshops, and original creations of chocolate masters from across France and other countries.
My business is 90 years old. My great-grandparents created a business and we've kept our recipe. I present to you the candied orange peel. We take the orange peel, we put it in sugar using a very slow cooking process, and we coat it with 61% cocoa chocolate.
Some exhibitionists showcase traditional recipes with chocolate that are being passed on in their families. And there are also creators that start from scratch. Hello, Clara.
Bonjour. Hello. I started my business 8 months ago during lockdown, and everything happened so fast for me. I created these chocolates in original shapes and flavors. Some are made with matcha tea, rose, and pistachio. These are original recipes.
Chocolate mastery involves different skills, according to the chefs we spoke with. There are roasters who only work with the cocoa bean, and chocolatiers who mix chocolate with other ingredients. Then there are bakers who create chocolate-based pastries. Finally, there are chocolate sculptures, like this award-winning sculpture from the Ivory Coast.
Full-time, 1 month full-time working on an elephant.
Very full-time working on it, because elephant is a very symbolic of our country. After roasting the beans, we're crushing the beans to have a paste, a smooth paste, and we try to make this block of chocolate, of dark chocolate without sugar, and we're making the process.
The show will last until October 21st. David Vives, NTD News.
It's easy to get overwhelmed in this day and age, especially when productivity is now often seen to be the highest virtue. So amid all that, it's essential to take care of yourself. Let's hear from Gina Marie, who brings us Strong Mind and Body.
Welcome to Strong Mind and Body. I'm Gina Marie. Have you ever felt that your obligations have become draining? It could be to your friends, family, or work. Or maybe tasks you've been assigned have accumulated to monstrous levels. If so, congratulations, you are human. This is known as mental exhaustion, mental fatigue, or burnout. It's more common than you might think. Feelings involving heightened stress, anxiety, and irritability are common. Many people are going through it. This state can also make people feel jealous of others they perceive to lead stress-free lives. The truth is, everyone has gloomy days to deal with. Here are some ways you can identify the symptoms of mental exhaustion and alleviate them. When your stress levels rise too high, it actually exceeds your body's ability to sustain the biochemical chain reaction involved. This is when you hit burnout or mental exhaustion. This state comes with emotional, behavioral, and psychological problems. It can include a lack of self-esteem and negative self-talk. This may occupy your thoughts for most of the day. This may also involve feelings of detachment, isolation, and a lack of focus. Other symptoms include anger, cynicism, and deep depression. There may be a sudden shift in one's normal social patterns. One such example is being withdrawn and avoiding people, even close friends and family. This may also include eating differently, substance abuse, or backing out of obligations. Feeling overly tired is also a symptom of mental fatigue. Other symptoms include becoming uncoordinated and clumsy, muscle soreness, and headaches. But the mind and body are resilient. It's capable of making a full recovery, even from the most severe physical injuries. This holds true for mental exhaustion as well. One of the easiest things people can do is to go somewhere quiet and relax. Even if you are at work, taking a lunch hour walk to a quiet cafe or park can brighten your mood. Meditation and deep breathing are practical and effective ways to alleviate the stress. There are also many different techniques you can use to help calm your mind and live more at peace with yourself. Taking time out of your daily or weekly schedule to restore yourself can work wonders for reducing stress.
Animals at a Belgian zoo are chowing down on a seasonal treat, pumpkins. The Antwerp Zoo released this footage Friday after caretakers offered the goodies to several zoo residents ahead of Halloween. Caretakers at the zoo first packed carved jack-o'-lanterns with treats like hay and vegetables, then brought the surprises out to the animals' enclosures. Many of them wasted no time claiming the holiday snack, with lions seen lazily munching and their cubs curiously joining in. The buffaloes took another approach, playing with their food and smashing it into bite-sized pieces. Other animals like hippos, tapirs, and chimpanzees all embrace the seasonal spirit. Located at the heart of the port city of Antwerp, the zoo is the oldest animal park in Belgium and dates back to 1843. It houses around 5,000 animals and 950 different species. Thanks for watching. At NTD, we're honored to be your source for the news. Catch us again tonight at 6:30 Eastern. In New York City, I'm Kevin Hogan.
Before you go, here's something you should know. Don't forget you can catch all of NTD's programs on television. NTD Business premieres live Mondays through Fridays at 5 p.m. We broadcast to many of your favorite platforms, Apple TV and Roku, for example. We're also rapidly growing on cable, satellite, and over-the-air all across the United States. Just go to ntd.com/TV, type in your zip code,